Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Smart Offshoring Talks. And today we have a guest, Veronica Wasek. And Veronica, welcome to this Smart Offshoring Talk Show.
Thank you, Manoj. I'm super excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So, introduction of Veronica. Veronica is founder of Mavency, a leading accounting firm specializing in bookkeeping and financial solutions for majorly e-commerce businesses such as Shopify, TikTok shop sellers. And she has over 30 years of experience, and she has established herself as a trailblazer in this industry. She is a certified public accountant and an advanced certified bookkeeper, QuickBooks Pro Advisor, recognized multiple times as a top 100 QuickBooks Pro Advisors in US. Besides this, Veronica is also a creator of the 5 Minute Bookkeeping blog, YouTube channel, and 5MB Academy, where she empowers bookkeepers with tools, trainings to build thriving businesses. Known for her expertise in streamlining workflows and solving complex bookkeeping challenges, she has helped countless professionals and businesses to achieve success. Beyond professional achievements, Veronica is passionate about mentoring others and sharing her journey from overcoming personal challenges to become a confident entrepreneur. So, Veronica, welcome to this Smart Offshoring Talks, and we are great to have you. Maybe you want to add something in your introduction which I've missed?
Oh, I think you did a great job. In fact, you said a few things I had forgotten about. Well, one thing I would add that I was the founder of Maven C and recently sold it to two of my key employees. So I'm still
Oh,
technically founder. They let me keep that title.
that's great. So you are going to move completely to 5MB Academy?
Correct. Yeah. The
Yeah,
content creation and education.
yeah, great. So Veronica, you know, when I was looking at your website and your content, you always talk about from an introvert to becoming an entrepreneur, and you have been forging ahead, mentoring to a lot of people. So, how did you begin this journey?
Well, I've been in the accounting industry essentially my entire professional career. So I got a degree in accounting, went to work, did what you do, go work for a large accounting firm. So I went to work for Coopers and Lybrand, as it was called back
Mm,
in the day, and put
yeah.
in my 4 years. So I was just on this trajectory of I'm going to be a professional accountant, and I'll then leave public accounting and go find a great company and be a controller. And so I was in the middle of that, and actually had goals to become a CFO. But this was in the late 2000, yeah, 2008 or so, when we had the Great Recession,
Mm,
and everything changed. I lost a job. So I thought, okay, let me get another job, and lost that job. And I thought, okay,
oh.
I'm done. I think this is it. And it was difficult always, at that by that point I was a controller for a couple of
Mm,
companies, being one of the highest paid employees, and then suddenly they can't justify paying you to do accounting
mm,
because nobody needs accounting then.
mm,
Of course, I'm
mm.
being, sarcastic. And I had a friend from church who was doing bookkeeping, and she was
Okay.
self-employed and doing very well. And I just started asking her questions, and just really trying to figure out, was self-employment something that I wanted to do? But really, the decision was made for me because of the economy. I just thought, if I get a job again as a controller, I probably won't even have any staff members, and I'll probably get paid what I was getting paid 10 years prior and working just as hard. And I
Mm.
thought, okay, that's not for me. I'm going to work hard. It'll be building my own business. And so I decided to start my own business
Great.
in
So,
2000,
you are
2008.
almost. So you are almost like an accidental entrepreneur. So how it
Oh,
feels to be like
absolutely,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, I remember, when I worked for, an accounting firm, and I was always the one that the go-to person, like, "How do you do something?" Veronica knows how to do it. "How do you
Mm,
streamline something?" Veronica streamlining everything. And so, I was well known in the companies that I worked for just because I was always sort of this, like, doing all of these things and improving,
mm,
and someone said, like, "You should start your own business," and I laughed at them.
mm.
Because I thought, "No, no, that is the farthest thing from my mind. I am not an entrepreneur." I remember telling myself, "I am not an entrepreneur. I never will be." And they're silly for saying that.
But you still say that you are an introvert. You feel like that.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely an introvert. But an
Uh,
introvert is I mean, if you look at introvert versus extrovert, because I probably seem extroverted right now, but it's
mm,
really about how we gain our energy and how we refresh our energy. And an introvert needs a lot of alone time.
mm,
And so that tends to sometimes make us not as sociable, because, for me, a fun evening is just me and my husband maybe watching TV or talking or having a nice dinner, maybe a small group of people. But I don't want to be around hundreds of people or going out every weekend. That just exhausts me. And so
mm,
I think that introverts tend to confuse their desire to be alone, and because that's how we gain our energy, we
mm,
confuse that with I'm not good with people, or I don't want
mm,
to be around other people.
mm,
And just because we're most comfortable alone.
mm. So, most of the times it is people think that, okay, I'm introvert, so I can't build businesses, I can't be entrepreneur because generally when you talk about entrepreneurship, they say, hey, need to be like with people and, sell and stuff like that. So what's your personal experience being an introvert and still being a very, very successful entrepreneur?
Well, I think initially when I realized that I needed to start my own business, and then I had to look at what am I good at, what am I not good at, or even what am I scared of the most?
Mm,
And for me, it was the fact that I would have to talk to people. I was going to have to talk to people I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to them about money, and I'm going to have to do marketing. And I thought, okay, sales and marketing for me are completely foreign, or were at that point completely foreign. I don't know how I would learn it. In fact, when I in my previous jobs, when they would talk to me about maybe marketing, I would just wanted nothing to do with it. It scared me terribly. And
mm,
so, because I really didn't have a choice, I have to build this business. I have to get myself out there. I just, I think, started taking steps to, okay, I have to go to a networking event. Let me do that. And so slowly but surely, sort of peeling the layers of the onion of what I thought was all this behavior that was protecting me. And again, because
mm,
I default to I want to be alone. And so, okay, now I have to get around other people. I have to now tell them what I'm doing, because I think once we make a decision and then we say it out loud, that there's something inside of us that then it makes it real. So it had to become real. And
mm,
then I think I really needed to focus on helping other people, and then be willing to make myself uncomfortable helping others. And
mm.
so that was really the
Yeah.
beginning stages.
Mhm. Can you share some real life stories, how it was to be attending the first conference or maybe first public meeting as an entrepreneur and, how did you feel? So,
Oh, yes, yeah. In fact, I had attended, I think, just a presentation at my local chamber of commerce. And again, we're in
okay.
the middle of a recession.
Mm,
And a lot of people apparently were asking each other, "How's business? How's business?" Because everybody's kind of checking on each other. And so the presenter at this event said, "When people ask you that, you just tell them It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So then I went to my first BNI meeting, and sure enough, like,
Okay.
after I introduced
Hmm.
myself, they're asking, "How's business?" And I'm just saying, "Oh, it's unbelievable." It's so, and everybody, "Oh my gosh, yes, I can't, yeah, it's just, I can't believe it." So, like, it's unbelievable because I have no business, I have no clients, I have nothing, but, it got me through.
Hmm. So it's today you must be feeling it's just unbelievable to be an introvert and a successful entrepreneur. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it really, when looking back at my career of now having my own businesses, it's, when I think back, even if my present self were to go back in time to talk to Veronica in 2010, that
Hmm.
that Veronica would laugh. Be like, "No, that'll never happen."
Okay. So, Veronica, talk to us little about Mavency and how did you grew that business?
Yeah, so as I said, when I started my own business in 2010, I was very confused, even as to what kind of, and I knew it was some sort of accounting, and I figured people still need controllers, and I was networking and telling people I was a controller, which they had no idea what that meant. So
Hmm.
fairly early on, I figured out that QuickBooks really needed to be the area that I needed to specialize in, just because
Hmm.
the business owners who I was talking to kept asking me about QuickBooks.
Hmm.
And, so light went off, like, "Okay, let me focus on QuickBooks." So, at that point, it was just, me training people on how to use QuickBooks or cleaning up
Okay.
their books. Then they started asking for bookkeeping, and, so at that point, then I hired employees to start, doing bookkeeping work, cleanup work, and we're very successful, especially because of our specialization in QuickBooks Online. So we adopted
Okay.
QuickBooks Online fairly early. And
Hmm.
then after I realized that, okay, everybody now they know QuickBooks Online, I need a new niche.
Hmm.
And it took me a few years to land on a niche just
Hmm.
because I was concerned about, well, will I get bored, or I don't know, just it I think for anybody looking for a niche, unless you like really know something, like, hey, this is what I
Yeah.
want to specialize in, it's hard to
Hmm.
land on
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
And I happened to see a couple of my counterparts talking about e-commerce.
Okay.
And so this was 2019, um, when I decided e-commerce, I think, is where there's enough complexity there,
Hmm.
enough
Hmm.
things that would keep me challenged and keep our team
Hmm.
challenged. So we
Hmm.
dove into e-commerce in 2019.
Hmm.
And as I was learning e-commerce, I'm literally making a YouTube video that's I'm posting 2 weeks later. And putting out content on, about e-commerce, bookkeeping, and QuickBooks. And by 2020, realized that e-commerce is so broad that we needed to
Hmm.
narrow it down, and
Okay.
decided to focus on Shopify primarily.
Wow, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and by then,
And
we had 6 employees at that time.
great. And right now, how many clients and how many number of people that you have?
Well, as I said, I founded and sold the company. So when I left the
Okay.
company, we had about close to 30 monthly clients, and then probably about 50 clients that we would do cleanup work and
Hmm.
other types
Hmm.
of work. We always
Right.
always focused on doing a low volume of clients at a higher dollar
I will.
amount.
Hmm. Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
never interested in having hundreds of clients.
Right. Great. And Veronica, how did this 5MB happen? So what triggered that?
Yeah, so 5-minute bookkeeping. I decided to start a blog in around 2013 or so, just to put out content for small business owners. just because
mm,
I kept seeing business owners in various forums and groups online
mm,
asking questions about their bookkeeping or about QuickBooks and realizing that, gosh, they just know so little. And
mm,
also, when I started the business, I would always give away like
mm.
1 hour for free with whoever I
Okay.
talked to. And then it got to the point I couldn't do it anymore. It wasn't feasible for me to do it, and I thought, "Well,
Mm,
there's still so much that I want to share." And so I thought, "I'll just start a
mm,
blog," because that was the thing back
mm,
then was a blog.
mm,
And so I would share all of these, QuickBooks tutorials, later QuickBooks Online tutorials, and then the tutorials got really long to do, like screenshot and then write something and another screenshot, so I thought, "Well, let me start doing videos." So then I
mm.
started the 5-minute bookkeeping, YouTube channel.
Okay.
And by the way, 5 the whole 5-minute premise was that 5 minutes back then was a very short time. Now it's like forever, like nobody wants to watch
Yeah.
a 5-minute video, but then it was 5 minutes was meant to convey that, "Hey, you can watch this in
Learn
5
it.
minutes and learn
Yeah.
something, okay, instead
Yeah.
of, an hour." So
Mm,
yeah, so I just started doing short and concise videos that would get right to the point and then usually show a process for
mm,
doing something, and usually
mm.
around QuickBooks Online.
Yeah. And now over a period of time, you have a lot of accounting fraternity following you, just not the entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, so right. So I started the content for small business owners, and then the bookkeepers started following the content. At first I just thought, no, it's not for bookkeepers; it's for small
Mm.
business owners. And but sometimes you're sitting on gold and you don't know it. And so that's what happened to me, that I was like, okay, bookkeepers are easier to teach because business owners would say they wanted the content but then wouldn't necessarily follow through. Whereas bookkeepers can learn, I think as bookkeepers are made to learn better. And no offense to small business owners, but they're more methodical, easier
Right.
to teach, and more committed to than
Mm.
learning. And
Right.
and so yeah, so I thought, okay, I think I can't fight this anymore. And started doing content then both for business owners and for bookkeepers, and it just slowly just evolved into
Mm.
just for bookkeepers. So all the content that
So,
I put out now is just for bookkeepers.
so how big is your 5MB community now?
We're at about 45,000 followers on
Oh,
YouTube.
wow.
I
That's great.
actually even closer because I think we're preparing for 50,000 in the next couple of months. So we're probably at
Wow.
49,000.
That's
um,
great.
yes, and then my Facebook group, it's called uh, 5-minute bookkeeping community, has about 25,000 group members.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. So, Veronica, how did you juggle between, being an influencer and still running Mavency?
That's a great question because initially, in all the content I was putting out, and even the courses that I put out, was all done on evenings and weekends, and every all the other time went
Okay.
to Maven's. And but as I started to systematize the business, to delegate to my team
Mm,
members, to really even grow my team members to be able
mm.
to take on more and more duties, then my time spent on Mavency was, I think by the time I left Mavency, I was spending only maybe 10% of my time on client work.
Okay.
I was
Mm.
still doing the sales calls, which maybe were 25% of my time, but everything else then was spent on content creation and course creation.
That's great. So, I think you must be having a great team for the back end, right? So that you can focus on the clients and production.
Yes, I mean it wasn't they were always wonderful, but it lacked experience in the beginning. So two of my
Mm.
key employees who now have purchased Maven C had been with the company 10 plus years.
Oh, wow.
One of them I
That's
hired
great.
directly out of college, and so I had
Mm.
to really mentor and train and same
Mm.
with so that's Sandra, and then we have Jesse who
Mm.
had worked in the business world, and she's more of the operations and admin
Mm.
person. But again, we had
Mm.
to, the three of us plus other team members, really figure out systems, processes, apps, and all
Mm.
of that to where then the company became this lean profitable machine.
I like that lean profitable machine. Huh?
Yeah.
Did offshoring contributed to that lean profitable machine?
I think offshoring for us was like the cherry on top of the because so we had already developed our systems, our processes, checklists, SOPs,
Mm.
all of that we developed internally. It was not easy, not easy at all, and I'm happy to talk more about that. But
Mm.
very difficult, a great financial investment on my part to
Mm.
devote time and effort to do that,
Mm.
and then I had some of the key team members in place, but then it was, really our additional staff that we had wonderful people, but, one person had to leave,
Mm.
and that's when we realized that, okay, how do we now replace this person and maybe change how we're doing some things to be able to free up the team a little bit more?
Mm.
And
Mm.
I had already looked at offshoring, but, the company that I initially had talked to, they brought in their systems and their processes, like, they essentially were going to take our stuff what we were doing and just go, "Nope, we don't want that, we're gonna do our thing." And I had
Mm.
spent multiple six figures to develop my own processes, so I thought, "No, I can't
Mm.
do that." Um
Mm.
but, working with FinSmart was, really was then a partnership because you came alongside and
Mm.
didn't, absorb any or, want to take away from what we were doing. You were enhancing what we were
Mm.
doing. And really now taking away that worry of because my worry when I was, um, owner of Mavency was, "What if people leave?" Like, I have a great business, I have
Mm.
my processes in place, but if my key people
Mm.
leave, I don't have anything,
Mm.
and I'm
Mm.
too far removed from the company now to step in and, like, I'm gonna be a bookkeeper. I mean,
Right.
I could, and, at times, I stepped in once or twice, but,
Mm.
that's just not I
That was
had to
not
develop.
scalable. Yeah. Mm.
No, it was not scalable, and really,
Mm.
you have to, to get to the point where you are profiting from the business and really then being founder,
Yeah.
and, you're kinda then leading with, strategic, plans and things of that nature rather than being in the weeds doing the work, then you
Mm.
have to have very reliable, team members. And so what appealed to me about offshoring, um, and working with FinSmart was that now I don't have to worry about if somebody leaves or if they they get sick
Sure.
or I don't
Mm.
have it. One of my greatest worries in scaling the business was how do I balance um, adding clients when I don't have the team members in place yet? Or do I
Mm.
add team members and now I'm bleeding money and then I
Yeah.
find clients? And I
Mm.
actually went through a period when I decided I'm going to hire the team members. I will bleed money and then find clients. And I bled too much money. So I had to scale back. And it was difficult because,
Mm.
it's hard to, in a
Yeah.
small business situation to hire people and then let them go. They have
Yeah.
families, they have
Yeah.
obligations.
Yeah.
or in this case, I even had hired someone from my church that I had to let
Oh.
go, and then I'm
Mm.
seeing he and his family every
Yeah.
Sunday. I mean, it's hard.
Mm. Yeah, it's very hard. Letting go people is very hard. And second, also, you would have trained people, and then, they have to leave. And then when you hire again, you'll have to go through the same process, which is,
Right.
absolutely cumbersome. Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and that was one of the things that we had to consider. Do we hire someone else the same way we did before, or do we go with
Mm.
FinSmart? Was in training. Training
Mm.
uh, takes at least 6 months to really get somebody up and going, and honestly, I think it's more like a year by the time they're really that you're
Mm.
reaping the benefit,
Yeah.
of, the time and effort you had to put in to train that
Mm.
person and then the team members investing in that person.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And when FinSmart,
So,
I was surprised of how quickly it went just because
in,
they caught on so fast.
yeah, in fact, I remember still that you had just started with us, and then after a few weeks, we had a call, and you told me that, okay, Manoj, I had kept around 4 months for training your staff, but you are just up and running in 2 to 3 weeks. So it was so
Yeah.
happy to hear that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was so surprised because we were thinking it would be kind of a similar journey as in the past of, okay, it's gonna be months and we're gonna get through, we're all gonna get through this together. But FinSmart already had you have the knowledge, you
Yeah.
um, you know the apps, you know how to follow processes, and we have very good processes already in place, and so it's just
Yeah.
really plugging somebody into our system.
Mm.
And
Mm.
again, they caught on so fast that then we're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we have to give them more work now.
So thanks to our operations team led by my co-founder Shalaka, and
Yes, and the
she's
onboarding too
she's
was so
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, she was
Mm.
wonderful,
Mm.
because she did our
Yeah.
onboarding, and
Yeah.
just the questions that were asked, just the way that you wanted to fit into our way of doing
Sure.
things.
Mm. Yeah. So, Veronica, just talk to us. A lot of firm owners, when we speak to them, they have a lot of apprehensions about, offshoring, especially who are doing it for the first time, or maybe somebody who have burned their hands maybe 10 years back and then they never tried again, right? So, talking about offshoring in today's age with processes in place, technology, and a lot of, supporting factors that are there, we all are trained also with remote culture post COVID and stuff like that. So, what were your apprehensions before you thought about offshoring? And then, how do you feel it now, when you have already tasted it?
Yeah, so I think for me, the main apprehension was that I did not want to work with a company that I knew nothing about, because I get emails
Mm.
multiple
Yeah.
times a day from offshoring companies. And so
Mm.
there's just like I can't just pick anybody to do
Mm.
this. And so for me, I needed someone who was already using the service to
Mm.
then give me a good testimonial, as well
Mm.
as in your case that you also have an affiliation with Woodard, which Woodard
Mm.
is the company that I've known for many years, and that I know they're not going
Right.
to just lightly recommend someone because they have so many members, and their
Yeah.
reputation at stake. And so
Mm.
I needed to know that, okay, someone is using the service, which one of my industry friends, Stephanie Smith, was using
Mm.
you guys and said wonderful
Mm.
things about you, and then that
Mm.
Woodard also was willing
Mm.
to essentially say we trust this
Mm.
company.
Mm.
I think that business owners tend to also worry about the time difference, which
Mm.
we're not working the same hours, but you certainly do accommodate us for a couple of hours a day
Mm.
to where
Mm.
we do overlap. And
Mm.
so, we don't have to have our team always be working at the same time. At least it's not an issue. It wasn't an issue for
Hmm.
us.
Hmm.
I think that some business owners worry about, well, okay, all my knowledge is up here. How do I hand it off to someone? And that's where you need to maybe consider: are you ready for offshoring?
Hmm.
Maybe you need to work on your processes first.
Hmm.
And some people worry about language barrier, which I have not had any issues with FinSmart with language barrier.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's never been an issue for us. And I think from a
Hmm.
security standpoint, that you have just as good as, if not even better security than we had. And then we even had to talk, think to ourselves of, we're hiring people to work from home, and honestly, sometimes they're just in their kitchen, and their kids are running around in the back. And so how is that
Yeah.
more secure? It's not.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so sometimes we think like, oh, if we hire people, North American employees, will be secure. And no,
Hmm.
probably not. I mean, you have
Hmm.
to have the processes in place
Yeah.
again to give to, okay, maybe they have to work on the laptop that you give them, and not
Hmm.
just any laptop that, other security measures. I'm not a technical person to explain what those are,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
um yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of things. I think that it goes back
Sure.
to fear of the unknown, as
Yeah. Yeah.
well.
Hmm. So, Veronica, what would, in your experience, okay, what would be the absolute essentials before you think or before you start offshoring?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I said, what would be the absolute essentials things that you need before you start offshoring?
I think that th- that an accounting or bookkeeping firm owner really needs
Hmm.
to, number one, be ready to
Hmm.
delegate,
Hmm.
to have some documented processes in place.
Hmm.
So it can't all be up here, because it'll be very hard to hand it off to somebody else.
Hmm.
And in my opinion, I think that you also have to look at your client base, and to
Hmm.
start standardizing the types of clients that you're taking on. For
Hmm.
example, for me, when I went from just me and a couple of contractors to
Hmm.
actually having a team of
Hmm.
employees, when it was
Hmm.
just me, I could take on any client or anything that I wanted to do, because it was just
Hmm.
exciting.
Hmm.
And but every client was different, which
Hmm.
I love. Everything's different, but from an employee perspective, or bringing in contractors, when
Hmm.
everything is different, it's very hard to standardize. And so then, if you're thinking about, okay, now I have to hand this off to somebody else to do,
Hmm.
then every client is going to be different. And then, because you're already doing it and it's becomes second nature to you, and then you
Hmm.
get frustrated when the other person, I can't believe they can't do it. I can't believe they don't understand it. Well, it's because
Hmm.
everything is different.
Yeah.
And so for us, even in working with e-commerce clients, as I said, e-commerce is very broad. So
Again,
even
yeah.
within that one industry, each client was still different, but there were parts that were similar.
Hmm. Hmm. Sure.
And I think
So
really
what
to
I
be
take. Hmm.
successful, sorry, to be successful in accounting and bookkeeping, that you do need to work towards standardizing the types of clients you're taking on, just so that then, again, when you're
Hmm.
handing it off to your team members,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
you can have standardized processes.
Yeah. And when we speak about processes, so is workflow just enough, or how SOPs needs to be really developed, or how SOPs can be nowadays. A lot of people even use the Loom videos, which is much
Yeah,
easier than writing an SOPs. So can you talk little about more that how well did you develop this workflows and SOPs?
sure. Yeah, so when I started doing all of this, there were not as many apps as there are now. And in fact, I think
Mm,
that there's probably too many apps because people now are trying to find the perfect app to document their processes. And
mm,
so for me, it started with, okay, I'm going to work on this client and I'm going to have my team
mm,
member sit right next to me and I'm going to go step by
mm,
step and say what I'm doing and she's going to
mm,
take notes. So that's how
mm.
it started, just somebody next to me taking notes.
Yeah.
We didn't have Loom. It's kind of weird because that was only say about 10 years ago or so, but really technology is was very different then. So we didn't have
Mm,
something like
mm,
Loom. We were barely able to make any kind of video that of of your
mm.
desktop and things like that
Yeah.
at that point.
Mm,
So
mm,
yeah, so literally it was just me with someone next to me writing notes, taking notes, and then she turned that into a list. She put it on Word, and then we work through the client again, and then we
mm,
refined the list of
mm,
steps, and then
mm,
we turned it into a checklist, and then she used that checklist to work on the client the next time.
mm,
So it
mm,
can be as
mm,
simple as that. So you don't have to worry about this app or that app because most people are trying to find the app that will help them to document their processes. When in fact, the
mm.
app is not going to help you if you're not documenting your processes.
Yeah.
So once
Yeah.
you document your processes and you can use Keeper or
Mm,
Financial Sense or whatever it is that you want to use.
mm, 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 mm.
But it
Great.
was that simple. But
So,
nowadays people are using videos and
mm,
other apps,
mm,
which and I think video is particularly good because you're doing the work, you're recording
sure.
it, you're talking through it, and then you have that to give
Mm,
to someone else.
yeah. Yeah. And so that's great, And how uh, did technology help you to kind of, maybe in offshoring or maybe in setting up the systems, processes, workflows, what is the role of technology actually in getting this done?
That's a great question. So initially we after we had our list and checklist, we started using Asana
Mm,
to manage client work. Asana took
mm,
us a certain for a certain distance, but
mm,
it became difficult, I think, as we added more team members. And so
mm,
we decided to start using Keeper. And
mm,
so Keeper was a great an important part of now having everything documented, all the steps that we follow for each client, to where
mm,
now the team members can see it. FinSmart, we call them team members too. So the FinSmart team can see it,
mm,
our team can see it, and
mm,
it's all documented in one place.
mm,
Beyond Keeper, we really try to focus on using a few apps and really testing, um, heavily testing before using, just
mm,
because again, it's that shiny object syndrome of people want to, oh,
mm,
let me use this app and let me use this app and
mm,
then still it's not
mm,
fixing my problem. Well, because the app is not
mm,
your problem.
mm,
So and and really, for example, Keeper, because we made that move from Asana to Keeper, it really took,
mm,
I think, about a year of testing,
mm.
implementing with a couple of
Oh,
clients, and rolling it out to
mm,
the rest of the clients,
mm,
training the team.
mm,
So once
mm,
you really start using technology in your firm,
mm,
uh,
mm,
it's sometimes challenging to then, okay, we're going to go to something else, and so you need to do
mm,
your due diligence first before you
mm,
go into the thing, the new app,
mm,
and realize that nope, that didn't work, and now we have to change everything, retrain team members, um, give something else to the client. It's pretty disruptive.
yeah. And now with the artificial intelligence coming in and, LLM models and all that, where do you see uh, a role of AI in accounting?
Oh, that's a great question. You know what? I joke now that my paid version of ChatGPT is the best employee I ever had. Just because I go in there and I just ask it anything, like, how do I do this? So I no longer Google things. I just go into
Yeah.
ChatGPT. How do I do this? How do I do that? Or
Mm,
I'm gonna do
mm,
a course on this, and of course it knows me now. It knows what my
mm,
courses are, and it talks to me like,
mm,
oh well, since you already have this course, this other course would be great. So um, I think there's a great opportunity from
mm,
a productivity standpoint to use AI.
mm,
Um,
mm,
I don't know yet from um, eliminating client work or streamlining client work. I don't
mm.
know. Um, I'm sure they're going to come up with something. I'm just
Yeah.
not seeing that. Um, Currently, let's say in QuickBooks or Xero, like, they have some AI driven
Yeah.
functionality,
Mm,
but,
mm.
it's not where I think it should be, or at least, maybe it's on its way.
Yeah.
And then when you consider, um, niche industries, like, say, e-commerce, that, um I think we're a long, long ways
You're way to
from
go.
really
Mm,
using
mm,
AI in those fields just
mm,
because they're
mm,
specialized. But
mm,
from a research standpoint, I think AI will play a big role from just even being able to ask it just questions of like where before I'm having to Google or maybe I need an assistant to look up all these
mm,
things, I can very quickly do that myself.
mm,
But
mm,
I am troubled by our the our industry, it's not just our industry because it's everywhere, but in particular for the accounting
mm,
industry, that,
mm,
um, the apps that we're seeing are,
mm.
how do I say this politely? Are prioritizing mining the client data over
Mm,
the, providing a product that
mm.
delights.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, um, with Chat GPT, also they've launched Deep Research Pro GPT, right? So I think that would be interesting for you because, in fact, I was just trying yesterday, and it even gives the source of everything that you are doing, and if you want to go very deep and niche research, it really gives the good data, and it scans a lot of research and gives that. So I think it's very exciting. So as far as the content is concerned, right now, artificial intelligence is very exciting. Even it plays a great role in communication and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think we're in a great place in our profession to
Mm,
just as like when I started my business and QuickBooks Online and the cloud and all of that was like the great thing, right?
mm,
And I was an early adopter, and that's
uh,
really what propelled me in the industry, both on
right.
the client side and the
Mm,
bookkeeping side, was because
mm,
I was a
mm,
trailblazer. And so
mm,
we have the same opportunity now with artificial intelligence to
mm,
to really be at the forefront of it and in the way that we will use it as a profession and to be
mm,
trailblazers because I don't think it
mm,
will replace us per se. I think
mm,
you still have to
mm,
know how to prompt it, and then you
mm,
really even have to know is it giving you an accurate answer or even to interpret
mm,
um, whatever
mm,
it's giving you. So I haven't tried the deep research functionality.
mm,
I've seen it, like it's popped up, and I thought, oh,
mm,
need to look at
mm,
it.
mm,
But even if
yeah,
you say as a CPA that it were to give me some responses that
mm,
the human has to take
mm,
in the responses and process and determine the right
sure.
application for
Mm,
their client.
mm, right. Yeah. Yeah. So, Veronica, where do we see you maybe after 5 years? Now you have transitioned from MNC to completely onto content. So, what's your
Oh
next
my
focus?
goodness. Um, I'm kind of planning my retirement for in 5 years. Yeah, so my husband and I are building a house at a farm. We're
Uh,
maybe a couple of months, I think, from being able to move there. So
that's
out
great.
in an hour and a half from Houston, so in the countryside. And so
Mm,
I plan to continue with all of my content and education for at least the next
mm,
5 years. But I
mm,
don't, I'm kind of thinking I may just retire after that, but you never know. I don't know. I kind of have thoughts I might want to focus more on local businesses in the area just
mm,
because they're fairly behind on all of their digital marketing, and which is something I love doing now. um, so we'll see. I don't know, but kind of looking at maybe retiring in 5 years. But I've made it my mission between now and in 5 years to really be the, I guess, at the forefront of educating bookkeepers and accountants to do
mm.
paid diagnostic reviews before taking
Great.
on clients. I decided that's what I want to do when I grow up. So really to
Yeah.
empower our profession to, just like a doctor does, to diagnose before they
Mm,
treat, to do the same
mm,
for accountants
mm,
and bookkeepers, and and
mm,
and lead that initiative so that as a profession worldwide, we would all
mm.
be then doing diagnosis. So whether it's for a cleanup, for a new bookkeeping client, even for tax
Right.
clients, to diagnose
Mm.
first.
Great. Yeah. So, Veronica, the final question for today is that, you have been a controller and then maybe the accidental entrepreneur, being an introvert, and then, building such a great firm, McKinsey, and then exiting and starting a 5 MBA. And now you are, diving into, content fully focused, right? So, what's that one actionable step Uh, that the viewers can take today confidently to being an introvert to an entrepreneur, because you have lived this journey.
I think the main thing is that you have to develop a passion for helping others, because it's very easy as an introvert, and maybe because we are kind of alone in our thoughts a lot, that we get stuck alone in our thoughts, and then we have bad thoughts, we have negative thoughts. And so you have to develop a passion for helping others, and then be willing to make yourself uncomfortable to help those people reach their goals. And then that will give you the energy that, because we lack energy as introverts. It's hard to for me to get out there and put myself out there in front of others, because it drains me, literally drains my energy.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so if I'm excited, like I am now, I'm excited to talk to them, excited for this to go out to others, and to motivate them, to and that, hey, introverts can do it too. I'm excited about that. Then that gives me the energy that I need to then make myself uncomfortable to help others.
Thank you so much. So it was great to have you on this smart outsourcing talks, Veronica. Thank you so much for your valuable time, and I think our viewers would gain a lot from this session. And wishing you good luck for your retirement and spending time at your farmhouse. If I visit some day Texas sometime soon, then I'll be happy to visit, look at your farmhouse. Thank you so much once again for being here with us.
You're very welcome, and you're always welcome at the farm.
Yeah, thanks.